Welcome to today's Explainer. We spend a ton of time talking about the tech of the future, the devices in our pockets, the smart grids powering our cities. But today, we're actually going to look backward, literally all the way back to the dirt, the rock, and the absolute foundation of all those technologies. We're going to uncover the hidden logistics that keep our modern world spinning, and I want to introduce you to the orchestra conductors who manage the truly staggering scale of global resource extraction. It's a massive, incredibly complex operation, and honestly, understanding how it actually functions is completely key to understanding our entire global economy. So let's just dive right into this by asking a pretty wild question, but one that really highlights the sheer scale of what we're talking about here. How do you coordinate a mountain? Seriously, think about it for a second. We aren't just moving boxes around in a warehouse. We are talking about extracting millions of tons of raw materials right out of the earth. We're managing massive workforces, deploying gigantic heavy machinery, and navigating incredibly strict environmental laws. And we're doing all of this at the exact same time. Without some sort of central guiding system, well, the massive risks and the absolute chaos of having fragmented mining operations would be, frankly, disastrous. And that brings us to our core concept for today. Program management. Now, in the world of natural resources, I want you to think of this as the vital central nervous system that prevents total logistical chaos. It's the structured oversight needed to seamlessly align operational efficiency, environmental responsibility, and regulatory compliance. It ensures that every single moving part connects back to strategic objectives, even across completely different geographies, a whole mix of stakeholders, and wildly complex global markets. It is, without a doubt, the ultimate balancing act. Let's move right into Section 1, the complexity of mining, fragmented versus aligned. This really shows why having that centralized oversight is absolutely non-negotiable in this industry. The contrast here between doing things poorly and doing them right is just stark. When natural resource organizations operate with fragmented initiatives, you get disconnected compliance. It's like the right hand literally doesn't know what the left hand is doing, and that inevitably leads to halted projects. And let me tell you, in this industry, a halted project means a massive, massive economic loss. Now contrast that with strategic alignment. This is exactly what program management brings to the table. Unified operations, a real actionable commitment to environmental responsibility, and perfectly coordinated global markets. It's the literal difference between a messy, halted operation and smooth, highly measurable success. Moving right along to Section 2, digging in, exploration, and extraction. Let's transition from that high-level macro view right down into the dirt to see how this conductor manages the physical job. It is so absolutely crucial to view this whole process not just as a bunch of disconnected departments, but as one seamless, continuous life cycle. It flows perfectly from Step 1, geological exploration, straight through physical extraction, all the way to global supply chains. Program management is that golden thread, pulling all three of these steps together. Think of it like a domino effect. If Step 1 miscalculates, Step 2 fails. And if Step 2 is inefficient, well, Step 3 has absolutely nothing to distribute. What's truly fascinating about this phase is how program managers lay all the critical groundwork before a single shovel ever even touches the earth. Exploration programs? They aren't just folks out there looking at rocks. Program management is out there coordinating incredibly detailed geological surveys. They're conducting rigorous feasibility studies to figure out if a site is actually viable, and maybe most importantly, they are driving the investment planning for these new resource sites. They are literally building the financial and scientific blueprint for the entire shebang long before any of that heavy machinery arrives. Okay, but once we are finally digging, the game totally changes. This structured oversight now has to actively manage super complex on-site variables just to keep productivity high. Just look at what extraction efficiency requires these days. It means rigorously managing highly advanced automation systems, strictly overseeing safety protocols, because obviously making sure workers go home safe every single day is paramount, and constantly driving new productivity initiatives. Program management is what ensures that the machinery, the human workforce, and the big operational goals are all moving in total sync on the ground. All right, let's shift gears from physical extraction over to the ethical framework in Section 3, the rulebook, compliance, and sustainability. Notice here how strict regulatory compliance directly drives real, tangible sustainability initiatives. On one hand, we've got the heavy burden of the rules. We're talking environmental laws, labor standards, complex global mining regulations. But program management doesn't just, read the rule book and file it away. It translates those rules into actual action. Those abstract laws become real-world, eco-friendly extraction methods, comprehensive waste management systems, and dedicated carbon reduction strategies. It takes legal requirements and turns them into measurable environmental action, which is absolutely huge. So, having safely extracted these critical materials, let's hit Section 4, Moving Mountains, Global Logistics, and see exactly how this stuff reaches the rest of the world. Because, let's be real, extracting the resource is only half the battle. Now you actually have to move it. Program management has to seamlessly coordinate these massive logistics operations and integrate a vast network of vendors. They oversee complex distribution networks to guarantee that the resources powering your smartphone, your electric vehicle, your home are delivered securely. And check out the crucial emphasis here: reliability and transparency. In today's market, it's not enough to just know the materials showed up. You need transparent proof of exactly how they got there. And program management is what provides that full-scale visibility. Finally, let's pull all these threads together in Section 5, Delivering Responsible Value, to really understand the ultimate payoff of program management. I think the absolute core takeaway of this entire explainer is captured perfectly in this quote. Initiatives must not be fragmented, but strategically aligned. It sounds super simple on paper, right? But as we've just seen, actually executing it is incredibly complex. This quote is a great reminder that the success of exploration, extraction, and sustainability relies entirely on unified orchestration. You simply cannot manage the Earth's resources in silos. It just doesn't work. Because these operations are strategically aligned, the value delivered is actually profound. Organizations are achieving measurable improvements in efficiency, enforcing much stricter compliance, and enabling genuine environmental stewardship. Ultimately, program management is what enables organizations to deliver responsibly. And honestly, that last point is vital. We live in a highly resource-sensitive global economy. The organizations that are going to thrive in the future are the ones managing their resources with exactly this kind of comprehensive oversight. So I'm going to leave you with this somewhat provocative final thought to ponder. As our global economy becomes more and more resource-sensitive, is your supply chain ready to be managed, or is it just being mined? It's a really critical distinction. The materials that are quite literally building our future depend entirely on how well they are sourced, overseen, and delivered. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this gave you a completely new perspective on the massive, structured orchestration happening right beneath our feet.